Welcome back to the Ghost Story Channel, where we bring you mysterious and real ghost stories from around the world. Turn off the lights and put on your headphones to start listening to the story. Nguyen had just graduated from university and landed his first job in a big city. Since his hometown was far away, he decided to find a cheap rental near his workplace to save money. After days of searching online, he stumbled upon a small room in a quiet alley. The rent was surprisingly low, only half the price of other places. The landlord was an old, reserved woman who barely spoke, only warning him, "Don't open the window after 10 p.m., and if you hear strange noises, just ignore them." Nguyen nodded dismissively, thinking she was probably just superstitious. On the first day of moving in, everything seemed fine. The room was old, with stained yellow walls, but it had the essentials: a bed, a small table, and a worn wooden wardrobe. That night, exhausted from his first day at work, Nguyen fell asleep quickly, but around midnight, he jolted awake to an odd sound. A steady clack, clack came from the window, the very one the old woman had warned him about. Nguyen turned on the light and looked around. Nothing seemed out of place. He convinced himself it was just the wind rattling the window and went back to sleep. The second night, the noise returned, but this time it was accompanied by something else, a faint, melancholic singing voice, as if echoing from a distance. Nguyen sat up, heart pounding. Gathering his courage, he approached the window and peeked through the curtains. Outside, the alley was pitch black. Not a soul in sight. As he turned to go back to bed, a sudden cold breeze brushed past him. Even though the window was still shut tight, Nguyen shivered, feeling as if someone was standing right behind him. He spun around, nothing. But in the mirror hanging on the wall, he caught a glimpse of a blurry figure, a girl in a white dress, her long hair covering her face. Nguyen screamed and flicked on the light. The figure in the mirror vanished. He told himself it was just his tired eyes playing tricks. But from then on, he began noticing stranger things in the room. Objects would shift slightly when he hadn't touched them. Soft footsteps echoed from the ceiling at night, though there was only a tiled roof above. And every time he looked in the mirror, he felt like someone was watching him from behind. By the fifth day, Nguyen couldn't take it anymore. He decided to confront the old landlady. She sighed deeply before sharing a story she'd kept hidden. Over 10 years ago, a young woman named Lin had rented that same room. Lin worked at a nearby factory. But one day, she vanished without a trace. Rumors swirled that she'd been tricked and sold somewhere. Or worse, murdered and her body hidden. Since then, the room had sat empty for years because no tenant ever stayed long. The old woman added, "I don't think she means harm. She's just lonely." That night, instead of running away, Nguyen chose to face it. When the singing started again, he turned on the light, stood before the mirror, and said loudly, "If you're Lin, I'm not afraid. Tell me what you want." The room fell silent for a moment. Then the mirror trembled. A faint message appeared on the glass, "Find me." Nguyen's blood ran cold, but he sensed it wasn't a threat, it was a plea. The next morning, Nguyen began investigating. He dug through old newspaper archives and asked locals around the alley. Eventually, An elderly man who sold drinks nearby recalled that back then, there were rumors Lin had been lured away by a strange man and disappeared near the river at the end of the alley. Nguyen reported it to the police, despite how much time had passed. Strangely enough, a few days later, the investigation team found a skeleton in a wasteland near the river, confirmed to be a young woman missing for over a decade. On his last night in the rental, Nguyen didn't hear the singing anymore, but when he glanced in the mirror, he saw the girl in the white dress standing there, her face uncovered this time. She gave a faint smile before fading away. The next morning, Nguyen packed his things and left, not out of fear, but because he felt Lin had finally found peace. Before going, he left a small bouquet of flowers on the table as a farewell.